Welcome everyone to this session. My name is Ritu Bhandari. I'm the moderator for this session, where we'll talk about technology to power a blue maritime sector. And we have a great panel with us, Tomoyuki Koyama, who's the Senior Managing Executive Officer at NYK Line. We have Simon Quick, who's the Head of Research and Development at Sustainability Secretariat Sembcorp Marine. And we have remotely joining us Benjamin Wong, who's joining us from Hong Kong. He's the Head of Industrial and Transport at Invest HK.
You can see him.
Yeah, yeah, right there. Thank you for joining us. I'll jump straight into it. From raw material to finished goods that reach consumers, almost 90% of all traded goods pass through the shipping supply chain. The shipping industry is integral to the growth of the global economy and trade, as we've been hearing in the previous panel. However, shipping is also a major contributor to climate change and air pollution. The sector is responsible for about 3% of greenhouse gas emissions and around 50% of the world's major air pollutants. Today we'll talk about the role of technology in decarbonizing this sector. We have a great panel with us. But I want to start with some audience interaction. If I could ask you all, are you optimistic about the potential of technology in decarbonizing the maritime sector? If you could use your, these cards to wave yes, no, or if you're undecided, you could just, okay. Very optimistic audience. Okay, great. We start with on that note. Maybe with you, Tomoyuki-san, right there. Like I said, shipping sector is integral to our global economy. It's also one of the harder to decarbonize. What is the role of technology here? Do you believe that technologies could play an important role in decarbonization, and how?
Yes, of course, technology is very necessary for decarbonization, and I'm very happy that many people agree that the technology can solve the problem. And for the decarbonization, of course, we need alternative fuel. Without the introduction of the alternative fuel, we won't be able to achieve carbon neutral. But before introducing the alternative fuel, we need to do something about increase the efficiency by digitalization and also digital transformation. So when it comes to the alternative fuel, people are now talking about e-methanol, biomethanol, and ammonia. But that will happen only after 30s. Of course, first ammonia engine will come into the market 26 or 28, but only one or two ships there. So if you want to see the impact of the alternative fuels, we can wait until the middle 30s. At the time in the ports, those ammonia and methanol will be available for supply, and also all the shipyard and the engine maker can make the ammonia and methanol engine and methanol-driven ships. So that's why technology can solve the problem, but we need some time until such time. So before that, by digitalization, we can make our operation more efficient, by which we can reduce the much fuels. So that means a reduction of the GHG emissions.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll come back to those points. Simon, coming to you now, do you agree with that? What is the role of technology in decarbonization? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you, Tomoyuki-san. And I totally agree with you. And also, we hear from the panel from the last discussion. To solve this decarbonization issue, we need multi-pronged strategy. From landside operations to the ship side, from nearshore to ocean-going ships, from policy decisions to financial solutions, and all these are important. And I think the energy transition, even though it is not exactly part of the maritimes, are also very important. The availability of the renewable will be important to provide renewable fuel for the ships. So technology is an important component in this whole lot of multi-pronged solutions. And from shipyard perspective, we are a solution provider. And we work with all our technology partners to jointly develop and deploy innovations of these multiple different fuel choices, and to create this solution from conceptualization, because these are all new fuel, through research and development, that's my role as well. Importantly, to test them, make them usable, reliable, and certify them, and ready for commercial deployment. So this is the central role for technology. As a shipyard, we focus on two key fronts. One is to work on the family of future fuel, make solution available. Two, like what Tomoyuki-san has mentioned, immediately there are ready solutions for making the ship more efficient. And these are the solution we help our customer to implement them. And you did mention that how do we take care of both sustainability and efficiency of ships. And in my view, the efficiency definition is more than just efficiency. It's about safety, it's about reliability, it's about having smaller footprint and making them also affordable. I think these are very important. And say, for example, developing a future fuel on, say, ammonia, we need to make them safe. And in this aspect, Sembcorp Marine has participated in a collaboration with Japanese country, from your country, partners Itochu, MOL, on making the gas dispersion quantifiable and come up with solutions to contain the dispersion, to make it safe. For our own ballast water development systems, we've tried to make them lower carbon footprint, fuel efficient, and also use no chemical that would harm the ocean ecology. So these are some of examples that we focus our energy in to protect both the ocean and the climate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Benjamin, coming to you there online for the policy perspective really, are we on track to achieve our decarbonization goals in the sector? Could you give us a policy perspective and some examples from maybe Hong Kong?
Thank you, Richu. Yes, I do agree with Tomoyuki-san and also Simon's comments earlier that technology, new fuel would take time to achieve, and also Simon mentioned about the from policy to financing. So I think it shows how broad the whole matter is. And for the governments, of course, we are setting the scene and also the backdrop for the industry to operate in. For Hong Kong, actually, we have committed to the net zero 2050. That is our commitment from Hong Kong. And of course, China has also the commitment for reaching carbon neutrality by 2060 and also peaking the carbon emission by 2030. In Hong Kong, we have the climate action plan. For that, actually, we have the vision of achieving a livable city, net zero emission, and also sustainable development. For that, we are focusing on 4 areas. Green transport is one, very much the topic that we are having right now, and also green building and energy savings, waste reduction, and net zero electricity generation. For the net zero electricity generation, we have a project which we are building this LNG terminal by the 2 power companies. And we are bringing in the FSRU, the world's largest one, with a capacity of 263,000 cubic meters to support the power generation with a stronger focus on cleaner source. And for that, actually, we are also looking at the feasibility of using this terminal for LNG bunkering. So this is something that we are trying to see whether we can shoot 2 birds with 1 stone, right? And of course, all these projects are very expensive. That's why we, from the policy-wise, we have this new energy transport fund, which is aiming at subsidizing projects, utilizing innovative technology for green energy and also the new fuel. So that's one thing. On the other hand, we believe that actually being green, actually it would cost money. Of course, it is an industry by itself, but then financing of it is actually very important. So that's why we are trying to support the green bonds in two ways. On one way, the government itself actually has been issuing green bonds to facilitate flowing of financial resources into green projects. By now, the government has already issued nearly 10 billion US dollars green bonds. On the other hand, we are also trying to support the issuance of green bonds. We have this Green and Sustainable Finance Grant Scheme, which is aiming at supporting the bond issuance in terms of supporting their expenses of doing this bond issuance. So this is something that we are trying to leverage on Hong Kong's strong financing platform, International Financial Center strengths to support the funding of green projects. After all, this is something that we believe that everything needs to be supported by the financing, and financing is the a core strength of Hong Kong. So that is what we are doing right now. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you so much. So what we are hearing is that there are solutions, and you know, Benjamin talked about the important role that finance is going to play. What I want to focus on in the next set of our questions and discussion is that despite these solutions, shipping industry does remain a very high emitter. So what are those roadblocks that we are facing, and what can we really do about them? Simon, if I could start with you this time, what are the key challenges that you know that are kind of stopping our progress in achieving those goals if we have the technological solutions?
The earlier discussion in last panel again has shared some of these challenges. Let me share some that we have personally experienced while we work with various stakeholders and customers in developing all this new solution. Firstly, unclear choices of technology. This has been mentioned many, many times. People are still choosing between options. While these are converging, very few ship owners will want to be the first few to make that decisions. And this will delay the adoption. Okay, that's the first aspect of the challenge. The second aspect is the high cost of future ship technology. And when we're developing a new ship for new fuel, there are no existing rules and regulations in the design classification, say for example. Then the design will have to be on rule-based, not rule-based, risk-based. And risk-based will involve giving some redundancy provision for mitigating the risk. And often this make the ship much more expensive in the early days. Thirdly, is availability of the zero carbon fuel. When we talk about zero carbon fuel for maritime, we're talking about liquid fuel mainly. But this fuel, green or blue fuel, has to come from, say, renewable. Offshore wind do produce those fuel. In today's context, the offshore wind or the solar renewable are not even sufficient for land decarbonizations, let alone having access for converting to marine fuel. We will see that insufficiency continue for at least the next decades. So that will make the availability of green and blue fuel very scarce, and that will deter again ship owners from adopting such fuel. So these are the three main big hurdles, I would say. There are many others, which I won't repeat here. But from a technology development angles, my view is that these are not uncommon challenges in the early phase of any technology development. Therefore, maritime decarbonization also means big business opportunity for those who are ready and ready early. So I will share three opportunities if you are those who come forward early enough. Firstly, the global R&D harmonizations and collaborations are taking place. There are a lot of funding. Benjamin just shared some funding opportunity in Hong Kong. Similarly, in Singapore, we have MPA offering some grants for early adopters of energy, new energies. There are roles for each of us to play. And early participation will allow us to shape our own future. I say that is one opportunity. Two is that the ocean is also a great source of renewable energy. Earlier I mentioned about shortage. The large, abundant renewable are available in the ocean for us to tap. Offshore wind, in some statistics, demonstrate that in coming next decades of 3 to 5 decades, you'll see a multiple fold of increases. Just 10, within the next 10 years, we're talking about 10-fold of growth. And this 10-fold of growth in the offshore wind production will generate opportunity for shipping operators, for shipyards, opportunity to provide solutions in this high growth area. Thirdly, improving energy efficiency may not necessarily mean cost, because in operation, you reduce the operation cost, and that hopefully will increase your margin, especially when this technology become more matured and the adoption are more wider to bring the cost down. So as a shipyard, we believe that, that we need to participate early, and if you want to participate, you need to earn your right to participate. If you're not a green company, you can't do green business. So we achieve it by operating our yard efficiently, safely, and sustainably. We invest in technology, innovation, and solution to contribute to this adoption of sustainable fuel. Being an attractive employer so that we attract young talent to join us in this green journey together, and also to meet the expectations of our client and our community. Thank you.
Thank you. That was really comprehensive. Thank you for highlighting that so well. I want to come to you, Tomoyuki-san, but for our audience, I'll come to you after this question. So do make a note of if you have any questions as well. But Tomoyuki-san, you talked about that we are still away from achieving a large-scale adoption of alternative fuels, and in the meantime, we do need to make our current processes efficient. And Simon, you also talked about it. So how do we, how do we deploy these tools at a larger scale? And again, what are the challenges really that you see that we face here, and how can companies address those challenges?
Yes, thank you, Simon. Well presented a very broad perspective. So I want to concentrate on the ship side. And the big challenge is the skill of the crew members. And already people forget about the LNG powered engine. People start talking about ammonia and also, ammonia and methanol. But we're in the era of starting of the LNG powered vessels. Even for LNG powered vessels, the skill of the crew member is an issue. And not many people working in the dry sector don't understand how to cope with the gas. So in order to cope with that, we do a lot of training. Course. And for the designing the ammonia engine, like he said, ammonia is toxic. Well, from the designing process, the operational expertise are necessary for the simulation before we start constructions. And let's say we have 750 ships in operations. We have many chief engineers, captains like me, and those seafarers should be involved in the design stage and how to maintain the safety of the engine and the ship itself. And it is not only design itself, the operational area is very important. What happens if the disaster happens? What happens if you have leakage on the ammonia, and how you cope with the situation? And that's only not the design of the engine. It comes down to the piping and the whole ship, and also the procedure of the emergency situation, etc. So those education and training is very important for crew members. And also for the digitalization, we have a system to collect all the data from the ship now. And nowadays, every engine company and shipyard has a fleet monitoring system to gather the information, data from the ships. But not many people truly understand how to analyze this. This can only be done by marine engineer and captains. So we have, operations center in Manila, whereby a bunch of chief engineers stay there and monitoring, analyze, and give a feedback to each ship and to warn them before something serious happens. That's very efficient and safer operations. So in order to maintain or keep the skilled crew members, we even established a maritime academy in Manila 12 years ago. So from that school, we already have 1,300 graduations. So they are now working on our ships. It's very, very effective. So those basic training and education is very important and big challenge for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for highlighting that importance of education and skills of the workers. Benjamin, if I could come to you and ask you briefly about the challenges, more from the policy perspective that you see in decarbonization of the sector, and then I'll come to the audience for questions. If you could briefly share that.
Sure. I actually echo what Tomoyuki-san has mentioned about the training of the crew. Obviously, with the new energy and also new risk factor of the new energy, actually, the training of the crew is actually very important. And it is not only about the field, the physical side, but also when we are talking about green shipping, actually efficiency is also very important. So for example, all the IoT technology that you needed for the power monitoring, consumption monitoring, or for example, all AI or big data that you need for the weather forecast, for better route planning. All those actually are also important factors and elements contributing to green shipping. And that, of course, the crew, they have to know how to operate and how to read all the information generated from all these green technology. So the training is very important. However, for us to be able to be trained, of course, we need to train trainers. The trainers, they have to learn about all these new gadgets and technologies before they can train the crew. So actually, it comes much more immediate in terms of the urgency of the training. That's one thing. On the other hand, actually, I think the challenges actually, you also mentioned about how can we turn this challenge into an opportunity. Now, I think all this green technology is presenting an opportunity for us to get more youngsters awareness of the shipping industry. Very often, people see shipping industry as an antiquated industry. Very often, human are very visual, so we see all the black smokes and also rust rather than the technology behind it. Now, green technology is actually giving a much stronger appeal to youngsters because obviously this is something that it looks into the future and the investment into the technology itself and also new ships are actually very high. So the asset management perspective is also there. So I think this is presenting us an opportunity to bring in more youngsters, to let them know that the industry is much more than just the physical side, but in the future, green technology, green fuel. And this is something that I think we can try to make use of it. Another point is on the collaboration. I think for the green technology, we need to do much more collaboration across different sectors, especially with the power sector. We did a mission to Norway some years ago, and we visited this electric ferry. So for that, actually, they had two issues. One is that the power company was not able to deal with the surge of power that needed when they make a stop at the pier. They need to be power up very quickly, but then the capacity of the grid was simply not enough for them to do it. So eventually they had a pontoon, kind of like a portable charger to deal with it. On the other hand, Norway actually, it has a very strong green power source. 90% of the power are actually hydropower. Generated by hydro plants, and they have actually 1,600 power plants, hydropower plants in Norway. So this is something that it shows that they are able to do it because they've got a green source. However, for example, if we look at Hong Kong, I think quite similarly in Singapore, a very small city, a very small country, and with that, actually, it's very difficult to have, for example, the wind farm, solar farm, all that to support the green power generation. Then collaboration with, for example, for us with our neighbors in Greater Bay Area to get green powers into our grid. That is another kind of collaborations that we need to look at. So these are something that, for example, I think collaboration and talents that would be the challenges, but and also opportunities.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for talking about the importance of collaboration. I do want to get your views on that quickly as well. But in the room, if there are any questions, please raise your hand. Can we pass the mic here, please?
Well, thank you very much. I missed the last session because I'm a latecomer. I don't think they cover precisely about the problem. So the inconvenient truth is they always avoid, and best avoided at all times. For 10 years ago, I've been asking Maersk Line, for example, what is your policy on the green LNG? They got none 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. And the Scandinavian countries, precisely around the Baltic, the bunker oil is very, very warm. That is why they're melting, the ice melting. And they couldn't bother about it because they go in chasing for the money. Until now, where is the green technology? You're talking about technology in what definition? It's garbage. It's vague and ambiguous. You know, precisely what technology are you talking about? Those are not technology. Those are, renovation, evolution kind of thing. It's not revolution when we're facing this reality. The reality is not forthcoming. That's why, see, economists is not a major player in this line. It's not the staple. So I'm sorry to say that, because I don't want to participate. That's why earlier one too, because you know why? Look at it, one, K-line. You see, Japan, NYK. My question here is: what do you do? What is your green LNG that you have in place? Do you have a target? Do you have a benchmarking? Do you have precise definition in the next 5-10 years what you intend to achieve and what you intend to deliver? Thanks a lot.
Sure. Thank you so much for that question. I think he's asking more about what are the targets that companies are setting. Tomiyuki-san or Simon?
Yeah, thank you very much. The target we set is carbon zero, carbon free by 2050. But like I said, it cannot achieve immediately. So one by one, step by step, we do what we can do. First, the more efficiency, and then we are now introducing LNG burn vessels by which we can reduce the 20% of the GHG reduction. Then after, we are pursuing the designing the ammonia engine by which we can achieve the 100% GHG reduction for one particular ship. So in total, from the year 2030, our reduction pace is steep, going down to the 2050. That is a plan. And the important thing is there are many technologies going on, but the important thing is we do what we can do now. That's our policy.
Sure. Thank you for that. We just have 1.5 minutes there. If I could get your last 30-second on the importance of collaboration. I know that's a very important topic that Benjamin already talked about. Just last few words from you before we go for the break.
I think this is a complex issue in terms of decarbonization. We have discussed about many challenges, and we need the whole of community to come together, solve the multiple strategy approach. Therefore, we need collaboration. I think we cannot emphasize more, right? I'm pleased to participate in many very fruitful collaborations where we see results. I like to be an optimist. We have made progress. We have seen ships in the water now with new fuel. It will take the next 3 decades to progressively replace the entire populations of 60,000 ocean-going ships to decarbonize the whole sectors. So it takes time, but the journey has started. We have seen ships in the waters, and I like to be optimist again. I like to be positive. Let's move on. Do it today.
Thank you so much. Let's end on that note, a very stimulating conversation. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you to our panelists as well.